In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at back-to-back major snowstorms in the eastern half of the nation. Real quickly, let's talk about my consulting company, Prestige Weather. We're closing out an amazing year with so many happy customers. If you're looking for more than the generic hourly or daily forecasts that can be so frustrating and very broad, look no further than Prestige Weather. We help out individuals and businesses alike. If you're an individual looking for better, more accurate, and direct weather information, be sure to subscribe to our standard package. That's only $4.99 a month. You get early access to direct weather, seasonal, and monthly forecasts, also weekly one-on-one calls with us talking about the weather, and regional forecasts cater to your area. If you're a business, organization, or event manager, be sure to email us at prestigeweather@gmail.com or use the sign-up sheet on our website business section. We would love to work with you. We've been helping out so many businesses, organizations, and events just like yours plan for the weather ahead. We offer consulting calls, texts, and emails catered to your exact location of need. We will be on standby during your job or event and give you updates from start to finish. We also offer long-range, medium-range, and short-range forecasts. We can help with rainfall and snowfall forecasts, plus the timing of onset and ending, which is so important. We pride ourselves on being highly flexible, and we're always willing to deliver on your specific needs. Put a meteorologist in your pocket so you no longer have to guess what the weather will do. Let's dive into things. Now, as we take a look, we can see we're taking a different view here. I want to do something a little bit different in this video. For storm number one, we're taking this kind of zoomed in look, and I actually want to zoom it out just a little bit for the very beginning of it because we have some interesting things going on in the south to begin with, and then we're going to zoom into where the real snow is expected. For the second one, we're going to zoom into the upper Midwest and Ohio Valley, and then at the very end, we're actually going to take a big zoomed out look and just take a look at the total snowfall over the next couple of weeks. Now, let's go ahead and dive into things. We get kind of storm number one, a snowstorm that could have been, but isn't. We see snowfall showers across the southern Appalachian Mountains. Most of the precipitation, though, is in this kind of East Coast area, South Carolina, North Carolina. Really not going to get snow there, so the precipitation is just not meeting up with the cold air on this one. But as we really get into the one that we've been talking about for a few days now, the reason why we're zooming out to begin with is because we have severe mixing issues as far as sleet, freezing rain, and snow here for North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, even into southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. The problem with these models is that they consider any frozen precipitation to be snow oftentimes. So we can see here that this is clearly freezing rain or sleet or mixed precipitation happening in these pink and orange areas. But this model is going to interpret that as 10-to-1 ratio snowfall, which means 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of liquid precipitation. That is definitely not going to happen if there's mixed precipitation in there. So it's good to kind of get a perspective like that. But I want to zoom us into the Northeast now that we get past kind of that portion of the video. We can see a heavy band of snowfall by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m. on Saturday the 6th. Begins for southern Pennsylvania and then very far northern areas of the mountainous regions of West Virginia and Maryland there. That seems to be the bullseye for the south. And then as we move on just a little bit, we see the low is really coming together by the time we reach about 1 or 2 a.m. And the heaviest pocket of snowfall is going to be kind of from the Finger Lakes regions of New York, the Adirondacks and Catskills, down through northeastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey. This seems to be the bullseye for kind of that overnight hour. And then as we reach towards the morning time of Sunday, January 7th, so this is going to be approximately 6 to 8 a.m., we have this 994 millibar low pressure center. The rain snow line is somewhere right around here. And you can see that this very heavy area of snowfall has set up for eastern New York, areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And the main point I want to drive home on this portion of the video is that any ticks northward here would cause that rain snow line to potentially really begin to head northward like this, and maybe even to the point where we see some mixing issues this far northward for these areas if we saw the low a lot closer to the coast up here. So all it would take is that low being about 20 to 50 miles further north than this, and we would see a lot of sleet, rain, maybe freezing rain mixing in this case. If it stays where it's at, that rain snow line is going to be somewhere near that southern coast of New England, which is perfect for Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, as well as Vermont and New Hampshire. But those areas are far from mixing, so they're not too concerned about that, of course. Any ticks southward, and we can see the bullseye really set in for this southern New England area, as well as northern New Jersey and very far southern New York. But usually you expect to see northern ticks in the model runs as we approach snowstorms like this. That just tends to be how things go. Don't ask me why that is, but that's just from experience what ends up happening for the past 10 or so years that I've been paying attention to. Maybe I've been paying attention for 12 or more years at this point. I'm getting kind of old here. But definitely that has been historically what happens with these model runs. Let's keep going, and as we just move on, we see that New Hampshire gets some pretty heavy snowfall towards the end, as well as Boston, and then the coastal regions of the state of Maine, and then everything kind of moves out. The total snowfall from this, we're just going to walk through it. Let's take a look actually at the entire kind of east here for a sec. And as you can see, this model, once we get to the actual storm here, we just have to change model runs. There we go. That was the problem. So this is the full amount. We'll zoom into the east in just a moment. But what you can see is that these areas didn't really see much in the way of snowfall on the actual precipitation type of this model run. But we're picking up 2 to 4, maybe even 5 inches of snowfall in these Smoky Mountains. But if there is like heavy freezing rain and heavy sleet mixing in, that is not going to happen. Is this for sure not going to happen? I can't say that with certainty, but if this model run is perfectly correct, then that would not be the case like it's showing here. So this is exactly that kind of snow issue I was explaining. Let's go ahead and take a look at a zoomed in view for kind of the heaviest areas of snowfall, which is going to be over the northeast here. And as you can see, even though we saw all blue, this model actually is having lower totals here in this corridor. So for northern New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, the very southern coasts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts there, perhaps getting a little bit less, maybe in the 4 to 6 inch range. Areas a little bit further north in those purples getting 6 to 10, and then pinks are going to be 10 to 20. And the heaviest pocket on this model run is actually for southern New Hampshire and then northern Massachusetts, which is funny because that area historically just does incredible in snowstorms like this compared to the surrounding regions. So I would be inclined to think that this could be onto something here with that kind of just to the west of Boston, the outskirts of Boston there. If you go just a little bit further, like 10 to 20 miles, there's some hilly areas in there, and those areas just crush it with the snowfall totals for some reason. And then southern New Hampshire tends to do the same thing as they have the same hills going on. So that seems to be the bullseye area, but really in the grand scheme of things, everywhere in this pocket on this European model run does extremely well as far as snowfall. So the mountainous regions of New York, southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, coastal Maine there, and then most of Massachusetts alongside northern Connecticut and northern Rhode Island. But again, any ticks northward, and this area here would be more like here, something like this, if we saw more ticks northward. So definitely could see this begin to move northward, could move southward, where again it would be cut off more like here, and then you'd see something more like this as far as the bullseye. That could definitely happen as well, where you see a decrease in totals towards the north. So these are the types of shifts we're watching for as we approach kind of 3 days out, something like that, from this storm actually happening. But these are the totals from that storm. Let's watch that Ohio Valley storm, which is going to be the next one move in. And we see heavy snowfall developing for portions of the plains like South Dakota here, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri there. Eventually moving into the Ohio Valley. Keep in mind here, I want to point something out. We have a 980 millibar low pressure center there right near the coast of Indiana. That feels weird to say the coast of Indiana, but it really is along that Great Lake there. We can see that rain snow line is pretty flat here for the most part on the eastern end of things, and then it just dives southward on the western end. You might be wondering, why is that? The reason being is our low is here. I'm actually going to switch colors, which always kind of slows me down, but I like to do it anyway. We have a cold front here, and then in the red here, we have a warm front. So we have advancing warm air pushing northward here along that warm front, and we have cold air really surging southward here through these areas to the southwest of the low, and that is why we have the rain snow line dipping southward where that cold air has moved in. And the rain snow line is probably creeping northward along that warm front, would be the expectation here. Certainly very, very interesting stuff. And then as we move on, we see that storm comes to an end. And really the snowfall totals from this one that we're left with, as we kind of just watch it move in, is going to be pretty large amounts here, especially if this is correct, of course. We're assuming that here, but especially for these plains areas through the Midwest and then the northern Great Lakes there, this kind of area here. So along these areas near Nebraska and Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois, and then in through both the lower and the upper peninsula of Michigan on the northern end of things. That seems to be the bullseye there. Now, as we keep going, we actually get a third winter storm here on this model run for this area. And we can see it really, really picks up steam here as it's approaching kind of the Cleveland area. And we have the same dynamic here. We have the cold front underneath, warm front up above, and that's why we have this rain snow line surging to the north here on the eastern end, and that rain snow line is way further south on the western end. It's because that dynamic right there, that warm front to the east, cold front to the south, certainly causes a lot of this mixing line being like this. That's the cause of it, really, at this point. Now, we do get to see it come to an end, so we will get the snowfall totals on this one as well. I need to switch to the 3-day total snowfall, though, get us to the end here. And this is that second storm. So certainly a heavier snowstorm, definitely another 10-inch plus event, perhaps. So that's going to be 3 total 10-inch plus snowfall events in the eastern half of the nation over the next 10 or so days. If this is correct, again, that would be very, very interesting. Total snowfall on the entire model run, we get bombarded with snowfall out west, as they always tend to kind of do. So certainly a whole lot out there. We can tell it back-to-back snowstorms move through this area, impacting this pocket here. And then we also get that one here coming up in just a couple days that impacts the northeast here with heavy snowfall. That is the flow of things. GFS model gets us out to 15 days, and we get astronomical amounts here. Out west, for the plains, Great Lakes, upper Midwest, and Ohio Valley, and even for the Northeast here as well, with multiple snowstorms. We can see here on this particular model run, we're probably seeing 2/3 of the nation with 10 inches plus over the next 15 days. Certainly would be a huge turn of events after the December that we just had. It's hard to say, and you should take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of this is going to be happening beyond 5 or so days out, which is definitely something that you want to take with a grain of salt. But this goes to show that these models are predicting a very active snowy pattern as of now. Certainly something we're going to be watching here on the channel, so be sure to subscribe for daily weather videos just like this one. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.